Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios in Woodstock, Georgia, it's time for Cherokee Business Radio. Now, here's your host.
Welcome to Cherokee Business Radio. Stone Payton here with you this morning, and today's episode is brought to you in part by Alma Coffee. Sustainably grown, veteran-owned, and direct trade, which means, of course, from seed to cup, there are no middlemen. Please go check them out at myalmacoffee.com and go visit their Roastery Cafe at 3448 Holly Springs Parkway in Canton. Ask for Leticia or Harry and tell them that Stone sent you. You guys are in for a real treat this morning. Please join me in welcoming to the broadcast owner of Good Faith Health Insurance, Miss Brianna Johnson. Good morning.
Good morning, y'all.
It is a delight to have you in the studio. I've been looking forward to this for some time now. You and I actually, speaking of coffee, didn't we meet over Alma Coffee on the way into sort of a networky type thing a couple of weeks ago?
We did. We were in line to order coffee, I believe. Yeah. And I've, of course, being salespeople, we're like, here's my card. Let's talk. So
the shy and bashful Brianna said hello. And I had my daughter Kelly with me that morning, which was fun to bring her to that environment. So if you would, give us a little bit of a primer overview, mission, purpose. What are you out there trying to do for folks?
Well, there's so many answers to that question. So essentially what I started doing with this business was helping people. I had a huge chunk of clients in Atlanta who were all self-employed, small business owners. They were all kind of in the same boat. Their businesses are growing. They're trying to figure out, what do we do? And then I had a young lady that came to see me who was at the time 27 years old. And she told me, I'm going to die before I'm 30 because my medication is so expensive. And there wasn't anyone who had been able to help her up to that point. I'd called about 10 different health insurance agents because I wasn't even in healthcare at the time. And after
you're trying to help this lady, and you're not even in the business at this point.
Correct. At that point, I was in life and disability, and my specialty was pre-existing conditions. And I called about 10 agents, and about 2 called me back. And the 2 that called were just trying to sell me something. So I kind of took the bull by the horns, as we like to say, and was able to find a program that she qualified for. And that medication was $45 on the program. And long story short, she's thriving. Her disease has been in remission for 2 years. She has 2 beautiful little boys. And she actually lives right in Marietta. So it's the ending to what could have been a very tragic story. So
your client base, your business, is it mostly regional, pretty local, centered around here, Cobb, Cherokee, Atlanta, kind of thing?
Yes and no. I've actually done a lot of consulting with businesses outside of this area. I'm actually the number 1 agent in the Southeast with my main carrier.
Wow, congratulations.
Yeah. So, working out of Florida, Nashville, Alabama, and kind of interesting because I actually had a business meeting with a franchise out of Texas this last week, simply because they couldn't find a good health agent that was also a broker who worked with multiple companies. They couldn't find someone who, was looking at their best interests. And they got my number from a guy that I had coffee with,
right.
Here in Atlanta. And we talked for about an hour, and come to find out that the agent that had put up their plan didn't even take pre-existing into consideration. So they had no hospitalization and no surgical coverage on their current plan for any of their pre-existing issues, including high blood pressure, which is very minimal.
Right. Anybody who drinks beer like I do and smoked pork butt like I had this weekend, we all have a little challenge in the high blood pressure arena.
Yes. Yeah. So, and of course, 2020, right? That had nothing to do with the high blood pressure with the commonwealth that we're seeing. People are stressed. People are anxious, and that's not helping. So it was a really eye-opening meeting, I think, for them as well, because they didn't realize that what they were doing on their health insurance, they could actually write off their health care from their business. And that's something a lot of health insurance agents struggle with, I think, just doing the educational part. Because business owners, I mean, they're everywhere now. We got people that are going from corporate to I want to do my own thing, and the one thing that's stopping them is their health insurance cost.
Wow. I hadn't thought about it. So okay, it's my show, so let's talk about me for a minute.
Oh, yes, sorry, go ahead.
No, but here's the reason why. My wife has a real job, very accomplished consultant in the IBM system, makes comfortable living. We have what I feels like really good insurance, based on a few things that's happened over the years. So when it comes time for Holly to hang up her cleats, and if I want her to come hang out with me here in the studio, that's going to be a major We're going to have to do some juggling, and it's not a world. And Holly's very bright, but it's not a world she and I know how to navigate, right?
Right. So the first place I would start is spending 30 minutes just teaching the two of you about the type of health insurances that are out there. And you essentially have, there's 4. You've got government ACA approved health insurance, which can either be done corporately through the business or you can actually go on the marketplace. You've got share plans, which I'm one of those unicorn-like health agents that's not anti-share plan. There's just certain share plan companies that I do stay away from. Just certain ones. The ones that don't require licensing, for example. And then you've also got indemnity plans, individual indemnity plans that are done through private companies. Again, there are certain ones I stay away from simply because I'm not naming any names, but certain companies have very small limitations. For example, if you get cancer, this plan only pays $100,000 a year. That's nothing if you get cancer.
Well, I bet that tab must add up. We've been very blessed, and it hasn't hit us directly, but that tab must add up in a hurry.
Yeah, but so there's certain companies that are really good at that and certain companies that are really bad at that. And then you've got the fourth option, which is short-term plans, which a lot of agents I'm seeing these days are being trained by these corporate companies to sell these year-by-year plans, but they're not really giving you full information about pre-existing conditions. So, for example, I have a client. He's an older gentleman and self-employed, makes good money. They were probably spending $1,200 a month for their health insurance.
Ouch.
Yeah, and it's the older you get. So he had surgery last year, and that policy that he had was a short-term policy and did not cover anything pre-existing. So that surgery was considered pre-existing. He ended up paying $22,000, I think it was, for that surgery, and he's still paying his premium for his health insurance on top of it.
And even if you make a comfortable living, that takes a bite out of it, because that's also all the money that $20,000 would have earned. Yeah, if that's how you have your life working.
Yeah. Right? So I kind of, for what I do, I basically explain to my clients that there is such a thing as pre-existing conditions with most plans. If you want a plan that, hey, you're not going to have a deductible, you're not going to have this, you're not going to have that, well, those do exist, but you're going to spend thousands and thousands of dollars a month for it. You don't get something for nothing. And I tell people all the time, how long or how much time did you spend researching your car?
Right.
How much time did you spend researching your health insurance?
So for me, it's the golf cart, right? I just moved to town not too long ago.
Oh, yeah?
And so one of the things that really, I live 9/10 of a mile from where we're sitting, and I have for about a month now. And so my next capital expenditure is a golf cart. So I've spent tons of time looking at all the different options and the lift kits and the colors. I'm thinking of putting Business RadioX logo on there. But you're right. I don't guess it wouldn't naturally occur to me to invest that level of energy and effort in researching healthcare.
It's overwhelming too. There's a dozen health agents. You can get online, you can go on Facebook, what have you, and hey, I want quotes. You'll get 50 quotes within 10 minutes.
Wow.
And you have no idea what you're looking at. So
I've been there. Yeah.
Okay, so you're no stranger. We're going to do a whole segment with our next guest, Jared Adams, with MesmerEyes Media. But it sounds like, you're nodding your head a lot during this conversation. You've at least been on the periphery of some of what she's talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. We had, I went through the corporate route for a little while a couple of years ago, and a big reason I did that was for the benefits, for the insurance, and then being laid off last year, my wife, similar to you, has a good job with good insurance, really good insurance for her. Not great for the family. So once the layoff happened, it's like, well, that's a whole nother thing I got to worry about. And I did the exact same thing. You go to the websites and it's like, oh, look, I have no idea what any of this means, but it's all expensive.
Yeah. And do you know why it costs more for you and your children?
I do not.
Here's why. These corporate companies, they can get something called a tax credit. In order to get that tax credit, they have to pay 50% of the premium for each employee, not the employees and their families. Right. So they're paying a percentage of your spouse's insurance, but they're not paying any percentage for the family.
Right.
And that's why, and this is something I deal with a lot with families and small business owners is, you know what, these corporate plans, that's a best case scenario. Somebody who works for a large company, you have a really good insurance policy with them. It's relatively inexpensive. Or if you're on TRICARE, those are fantastic situations for people. And I'll sit down with someone, I'm like, yeah, I can do nothing for you, which is good. Right. I've even had veterans come to me and say, hey, I got this other agent who's trying to sell me a policy and telling me that TRICARE is garbage or VA is garbage. I'm like, well, it just depends. We can talk about that. But the majority of the time, it's like, oh, yeah, they're $50 less, and the quality of the product is just trash. It's terrible. So part of what I do is basically sitting down with families and saying, hey, this is a good situation for you. This is a bad situation for you. This were me, this is what I would do. I try not to lead the witness, obviously, but at the same time, they need someone who can expertly tell them if they're in a good situation, if they're getting a good deal. So I have no problem looking at someone and saying, hey, yeah, this is good. Don't move. Don't change anything. If you want to change something, maybe tweak it here, but that's about it.
And when you tell me that at a certain time, there's a level of trust that's built there that as my situation changes, if it changes, I want to talk to Brianna. I trust her. She told me the truth at the moment. I'm sure that's come back to serve you 10 times over.
It has. And it's really funny because I started this company not because everybody I talked to told me you should not go into healthcare. Like everybody told me. Financial advisors told me. Other health agents told me that that do not get into it. There's no business. There's no money in it. And those were the old school people who were around when you could get a healthcare plan for $80 and have a $500 deductible.
Right.
And what I realized really quickly was that there was a serious lack of knowledge for health people looking for healthcare or health insurance. So when I started this company, the mentality was to help people because I had cases like that young lady, and she was kind of the start of everything. Right. And from then on, all my clients were coming to me for the same issue. All my life and disability clients were like, hey, I need health insurance. What do I do? And at that point, there wasn't anybody I knew that really specialized in individuals and small businesses. Everything was, oh, I've got this guy and he says I have to have like 40 employees. Well, the reason for that is because that guy only focuses on large group, and he makes $25 a head. So if you've got two people, he's making $50 on a whole day's worth of work. So why would he spend any time with you? That's why you call the 1-800 numbers on the marketplace and you get someone who gets paid per hour. They're not really vested in putting you in the best situation.
So your specialty, your niche, if you will, it's me and Jared, right? Like small business people. And Jared and I are at different phases of life. Jared could tuck his shirt in if he wanted to. I could not. Jared has plenty of beautiful dark hair and mine is white. But there are, we do have some of the same kinds of things going on in our world, right? We're running small businesses. Even though Holly has carried the lion's share of things lately, as I've opened this studio, with me really getting hurt and sick it could have a really significant financial impact on us. I suspect the same is true for you, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're in your wheelhouse. This is who you serve, the Jareds and the Stones of the world, right?
Yeah, I serve, individuals up to about 100 employees. Okay. And when I get companies that are growing to that extent, to that level, then I'm like, okay, well, I've got other people that I'm on a team with. I'll bring in other people to help me with larger cases. And being able to say that I can't handle this large a case on my own is important, because a lot of people, we've all been there, we've all seen it, we all network, we're all in sales. We see those people that want to do everything, and they're not doing it at 100% accurate, being accurate with it. And I'm sure, Jared, you see that all the time in your industry. We'll take everybody. And I'm like, no, I won't take everybody. Right. I'll take the right people. So, people vet me the same way that I would vet them. And with health insurance, it's just a totally different ballgame. I mean, I'll bet. Every meeting is different. And this last week, so COVID, of course, saw an influx of babies, right?
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's something people didn't really think about. But a lot of these families did not have health insurance. And they're suddenly we're pregnant. I'm like, you should have gotten some cable or something. So it's funny, though, because in this one particular situation, this happened 2 weeks ago. Lovely couple, sat down with them, knew the situation was they were pregnant and they needed insurance, and I was helping them set something up. And
is that a pre-existing condition? Being pregnant? Pregnant,
makes sense maternity. To me. And
even I can ID that one.
Yes. And what's interesting is I've even had clients who have opted out of government insurance to have no maternity coverage because the deductibles are so high and the cost is so high. And those clients end up just going to MesmerEyes and spending $5,000 to have the baby. If you just pay cash, that's typically what it costs here to have a baby, which is lower than a lot of deductibles.
Yeah.
But in this particular case, young couple, I'm sitting across from them, and this mother, just lovely people. They've been stressed, obviously. And I was able to build a plan that worked really well for them, worked for their budget. If everything goes according to plan, they won't owe anything, right? When does anything go according to plan? But anyway, So as I'm sitting there, the husband slides these bills across the table at me, and it was about $15,000 to $20,000. And I said, "What happened?" And he goes, "Well, earlier this year, somebody hit me with their car and just took off." So he goes to the ER. And they charged him $15,000 to $20,000 to make sure that he wasn't bleeding internally. And he was fine, but not so much. Now he's like, man, I wish I hadn't gone in. And so I basically coached them on what to do, and this is how you deal with the insurance. They were able to get about 85% knocked off within 10 minutes of talking to the hospital. So for me, I do try very, very, very hard to coach my clients on, I'm not about cheating the system, I'm about beating the system. And it's not a question of if you're going to have a problem with your health insurance. It is not a question of that. It's a question of when. And when you have a problem, who are you going to call? Not Bill Murray.
Well, it can be so intimidating because you get the paperwork that says, this is not a bill.
Yes.
Which is cue for me to throw it over in that stack.
Yes.
Right. And trying to wade through all that stuff. Now, long-term care, is that in your lane, or do you kind of connect them with other people? Or
the long-term care is fun. So basically, long-term care is one of those things where we say long-term care, but what do we really mean? Older people from older generations look at long-term care as a policy. That's strictly what it is. Okay. If I, as a millennial, go get long-term care insurance, I'm actually paying a lot of money for that. It's very expensive, and Jared's over here nodding. It gets very expensive. So for a lot of my clients, I'll tell them, look, I don't specialize in long-term care. I worked in that industry for a long time. Okay. The average stay for nursing home care, right? Mm-hmm. For women is 6 years. For men, it's 1 year.
Wow. So it's kind of a misnomer right out of the box calling it long-term care, isn't it?
Yeah. So, and the reason I think for that is because a lot of women end up taking care of their husbands. I think personally, but I haven't researched that. So what I tell my clients is if you're in your 30s, look at, a different type of policy. Don't necessarily look at a long-term care. Look at whole life, look at IUL, but talk to your financial advisor, because your financial advisor is the one who is protecting you in your retiring years. And if your financial advisor does not ever bring up long-term care, you might want to talk to a different financial advisor. I mean, it's important that...
Because that should be on your radar. It should be something that you look into and consider.
And it shouldn't be on your radar when you're 50. It needs to be on your radar when you're 20 and 30. It's that important.
Because it's so much more expensive when you...
Yes. It becomes more expensive as you age, but it's also, part of your retirement plan. And who's handling your retirement plan? Hopefully your financial advisor. And, that's one of those areas that, I'm from a family of 11. I have 10 siblings. My parents been married for almost 40 years.
Oh, wow.
Same mom and dad. Everyone thinks split, Catholic. We're not Catholic. We're not Mormon. I got to answer all of them. Not Catholic, not Mormon, no twins, no triplets.
Didn't have cable.
Yeah, didn't have cable. Yeah, that's right. Mom says, they think they figured it out, though. They quit washing their clothes together. So, growing up in that large family, my dad always joked about us being his long-term care plan.
Uh-huh.
I said, yeah, Dad, we'll just, each of us will watch you for 6 months and then we won't see you for 5 years. It'll be great. So, no, I do tell my family, though, that, and my clients, that if you're planning on a long-term care plan or anything like that, just make it so that if a relative does have to take care of you, that you can at least pay them to take care of you. Because we all have our own lives.
Right.
They have their own lives. They've already raised something.
And you don't want to be a financial burden on your kids or anything like that. Yeah. So what's next for you, and how can we help?
Well, for me, my company is continuing to grow. We've actually started recruitment. We're basically looking for ways to help people, and it's interesting because we grew so much faster than I ever thought possible. I started this business to help people. Within the first year, I was actually one of the top 10 agents in the country with my main carrier. And last year, I was the number 4 agent in the country with my main carrier. And it's just interesting because, I don't know, it's kind of like, how can we help you? And it's like, well, we're growing. So you're recruiting, though. We are recruiting. You're looking for more talent to help you do your thing. I'm looking for more people who have the right mentality of helping people, because there's lots of recruits that want to make money. Right. And, we're all in the business of making money. But when the intention is to help people versus just making that almighty dollar, the mentality changes and your business thrives as a result of that. And for us, if you have a family member, if you're in that position where you are trying to figure out if you want to start your own company, if you don't know what steps to take, and the health insurance is what's getting in the way of it, give us a call, because that's something that we do free consults. We don't charge fees to sit down with people and actually educate them and give them a review. I've actually done seminars. I've done trainings. I do a lot of Medicare as well. So when I have someone who's getting into they're still working. I have clients who are over 65. They're still working. And they're trying to figure out Medicare, and that's a whole nother ballgame. So for us, it really is about, if you are just having issues with the healthcare system, if you are the kind of person that values the time it takes to learn this industry, give us a call. That's where we start. All right. Well, let's make sure that we leave our listeners with some points of contact. The phone number, email, website, LinkedIn, whatever you feel like is appropriate if they would like to reach out and have a conversation with you or someone on your team. Yeah. So the website is goodfaithhealthinsurance.com. And you can actually just reach me on my cell phone. I do not have a work phone, and I do that deliberately because I tried that route, and being on the road and everything else, just constantly going from meeting to meeting, I didn't want to miss important calls. So my cell phone is 770-289-9231, and that's where we start. Well, it has been an absolute delight having you in the studio and sharing this information, and I was expecting to be intimidated and scared even beyond what I already am with regard to healthcare. But I'm feeling a little bit more comfortable, not because I'm feeling that much more knowledgeable at this point, although I am feeling a little more knowledgeable, but I feel like it doesn't matter. I can walk down to the Reformation for the Woodstock Business Club powwow and say, Brianna, can we chat after the meeting? Yeah. Or I can call Brianna. And so at least I've got, I've got a place I can go to learn more. Absolutely. This has been great. And with your permission, maybe we'll check in periodically. Yes, please. Yeah. Love it. That would be neat. You can be our health care guru correspondent, or beat reporter. That's a different one, Jared. Hey, how about hanging out with us while we visit with our next guest? I would love it.
All right. Next up on Cherokee Business Radio, we have with us owner with MesmerEyes Media, and really a co-owner, right? You got a partner in crime, is that true?
Correct. Although if he's listening, he's still my employee.
There you go. But owner with MesmerEyes Media, Mr. Jared Adams. Good morning, sir.
Good morning to you. Thanks for having me. It's been a fun experience already. So
yeah. Did you, what'd you learn in that last segment?
That I need to call Brianna probably right after the show. Yeah, no, honestly, I've listened to Brianna talk. I've known her about a month or two now. Met her at the Ackworth Business Association, actually, and she's always knowledgeable, bringing really good facts and all that stuff to all the meetings that we see her at. So it's always enjoyable to hear someone that really knows what they're talking about and is passionate about it, which is great.
Well, it's sure fun to me to have both of you sort of come into my circle, and I've certainly enjoyed already living and working and playing in Woodstock, and I think there's more great things to come. So MesmerEyes Media, you got on my radar because I was going to go to this Million Cups presentation that you were doing, and I wasn't able to make it, but I really wanted to connect with you. So it's been a few weeks in the making, and now we're finally getting a chance to sit down and visit. But please do share with us overview, mission, purpose, what you're doing.
Yeah, so MesmerEyes Media, I've been in the video and film industry for, what year is this? About 17 years now, and done everything from mom and pop businesses, local commercials, all the way up to feature films. The company I was at before, we actually shot one of Burt Reynolds' last films a few years ago, and it's just been I've always loved it. I've always wanted to be in this industry. I want to tell stories, and I want to help people tell stories. And like I mentioned, I did a small corporate stint for a couple of years, and almost exactly a year ago, me and my business partner were laid off from that company due to COVID and new leadership, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, you know what? I fought corporate for so long because I know there's just so many things I didn't want to do in the corporate world. And I think I could do better on my own. So I said, well, here you go.
Here's your shot.
Here's
Be
my
careful
chance.
what you ask for, right, Brianna?
Yes.
I thought I would make that decision on my own someday, but someone else kind of made it for us. And Tim and I just sat down and we say, what do we really want to do? And we've actually owned a DJ company for a little over a decade now, too. We DJ weddings and corporate events and things like that.
Great.
And it's funny because we're kind of known as, that's Tim and Jared, that's those guys. We're fun. We try to be fun. We try to be entertaining best we can, even when we shouldn't be, And we thought, you know what, let's just combine all of that. And how can we help our community? Because, he's been in Woodstock for, I don't even know how long. I've been here for 10, 15 years or so now. And we just love the community. So our ultimate goal is to help other small businesses tell their stories. And the last company I was at, our camera alone was like a $50,000 camera.
Wow.
And we had a 15,000 square foot studio. It was awesome. We're doing stuff for Home Depot. We're doing feature films.
That microphone you're on cost $99.
I know it did. I've got a few. I've got a few. And and I tell you that because, if someone called and said, hey, I'm Brianna, I'm a small business and I've got, $1,000, can you do something for us? And we say, no, we can't, because we can't do anything for less than 5, 10, 15 grand.
Yeah.
Right.
Because we had to support that overhead. And that's a great business model. I know a bunch of people still in it and it's working for them. But I want to be the guy to say, yeah, we can help you out. Come on. I want to help you grow your business because you're local to our community. Yeah. Like you talked about, you want to help people, and that's what we want to do. And not to say I'm going to turn down those $15,000 videos, and I've got the experience and the knowledge and know how to do them and pull them off, and I've still got the team involved that can do that. But our ultimate goal is to do that. We're here for the community. We want to help small businesses grow, whether that's through social media content, branding, short videos, photography. We do a lot of kids photography, sports photography, things like that. So basically, we have cameras, and we like to use them and tell stories.
So you came home and you told Honey Bunch, hey, it's been a good ride, but I'm going to do this thing on my own. What was that like?
Well, the funnier story is it's funny now.
Yeah, what funny?
So the last company I was at in the video company, I'd been there for about 12 years, and it was always, we weren't just never quite there, and it was always, hey, maybe this will be the year. And I've probably hung out, 5, 6 years, a little bit too long, just because I'm a loyal guy. I kept believing all the stuff. And when I got my corporate job, my wife, she's probably going to get me. She's listening now. She's going to be mad at me for telling this. But when I got the corporate job, she says, "Oh my God, I'm so excited! You finally have a future." And she meant it. She didn't mean it. She meant it in the nicest possible way. Yeah. She was excited and all that stuff. But it's kind of a dig. So then, of course, 3 years later, when I call her and said, "Just so you know, I just got laid off. I'm going to have to go get a new phone." Then that was so she had the whole afternoon to think, "Oh my God, now he doesn't have a future." So, but no, obviously that's a bit of a funny way to tell that story. But yeah, so I sat down and thought, do I get my resume ready? I went through I went through a couple of resume courses, and I got a really pretty nice resume for what I was trying to do. But that was really in the event side of the world, and
to work for someone else.
Yeah, management and events, and it's right that second in June of 2020. To go get a high-paying job in the event world, that didn't exist.
Right.
So,
sure.
Do I hold out? Do I wait? And that's when I was like, we're just going to do it, because the stories I always hear from people are, something tragic happens in their life. They say, "Man, I was doing this, and then my brother passed away, and I realized life's too short to do something I want to go do, so I went and did it." And I was like, well, why do I have to wait for something tragic to happen to realize I want to do something for myself? Mm-hmm. So I said, I'm going to give it at least a year, a couple years, and make it happen. And we're growing really good. We're doing a lot of good stuff already, and got a lot of momentum going. So we're excited. And so far, she hasn't made me go get a real job yet, as you mentioned earlier.
So how does the whole and this may be an evolving answer, but I am always curious. How does the whole sales and marketing thing work for a company like yours? How do you get to have conversations about potential new business?
So we've been doing a lot of the networking around this. How we met Brianna, sorry. And
it's all right, Steve.
I was closer than that. So, we've played a few different games. We, do some Facebook ads and social media and things like that. But realistically, like I said, with our goal being helping other local businesses, we've really tried to play that networking game. We're in a B&I group. We do the Woodstock Business Club, the Canton Business Club, and every, we're at my corporate job. I got to work with the Cherokee Office of Economic Development quite a bit. So I've got some good relationships there, especially in the film world. Molly Mercer, I'm not sure if you've known her yet.
No.
You need to talk to Molly. She's great.
Okay.
And everybody over there at the Office of Economic Development. So they've helped us. We've actually done a lot of work for them, and they've helped us introduce to a lot of people in the local community and all that. So we're kind of in that. Do we land in Woodstock? Do we land in Canton? Do we land in we've got because those are the two places that we're mostly in. But
yes.
Right.
Like I said, yeah, I know, right?
So your new marketing consultant, Brianna, says yes.
Yeah. So, and we've met so many good people in these groups, and everybody with similar missions in life of just doing good things for good people. And so that's our main marketing game right now is networking and introducing ourselves to everybody that we can introduce ourselves to, and it's for the most part, people like us, at least to our face. I don't know what they say when we're not there, but we've generally made a pretty decent name for ourselves as those guys are fun and they're cool to work with. So.
Well, and it's amazing, and it shouldn't be, but it is that doing really good work is just a fabulous sales tool, isn't it?
It is.
Right? It's like the best sales tool out there. So walk me through it if you would. And I'd actually like to take a snapshot of a couple of different scenarios. One scenario, not representing me at all, is the person, the business that knows exactly or thinks they know exactly what they want. Mm-hmm. So they reach out to you or they meet you, and then kind of what the early stages of an engagement might look like there. But what I'm more interested in, again, so that we can talk about me some more, because, again, it is my show.
That makes sense.
For the guy that's got this kind of feeling like, these guys might be able to help us out kind of thing, either at the corporate level or at this one studio level. What does that process look like? You have some sort of onboarding consultative kind of, talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so it's a lot less scientific, I think, than you're probably looking for an answer for. But for the people that know what they want, that's sometimes I love that, and sometimes I don't, because I'm like, Are you sure that's what you want? Because we can, so we try our best to just have open, honest conversations. If we have a meeting, we'll sit and talk, and if they say, I need a 2-minute video that says this, this, and this. It's like, okay, well, let's find even if you're just hell-bent on that and you have to be that, let's find a way to make it the most creative and engaging as we can. Because there's a difference in, people getting on their phone and standing 10 feet away from the microphone and you can't hear it and it looks terrible. Everything's in focus. Sure. Mm-hmm. And so even, I've done it plenty where someone says, here's our video that we shot last week. And then I go do the exact same video, and it's 15 times better. And it's more engaging. It gets more likes. It gets more reactions just based on the quality of equipment we use and just, 17
production value is huge in your world, right?
It is.
It's not small in my world, but it's not nearly as big a deal, I don't think, in my world as it is in yours.
Yeah, and it's why we bring, we always, I'm a certified drone pilot, so
sweet.
We bring the drone, we bring sliders, we bring dollies, we bring all the fancy equipment.
Right.
I love how Stone's face just lit up.
With the drone thing.
Toys.
Right?
I would crash it into the first. We could be on 100 acres of pasture land, and I would find a way to crash that drone. But I'm so mesmerized with the whole concept of remote piloting something.
It's so funny that you say that, because to me, and I know I'm too in that world, but to this day, I always think drones are, they've been around long enough now where people are like, it's a drone. But every time I break it out, if I'm in a park, oh my God, it's a drone. And they freak out, and kids are running over and watching, I'm putting on a show. I'm like, I'm just trying to take pictures. People get out of my way. But people are still fascinated by it, and I love it. I've flown small ones up to big ones and all that stuff. And the getting your license part of it is trickier than it should be, because there's really nothing about the actual flying of the drone in that test. It's all about rules for flying around airports and airspace and all the stuff that you're not even allowed to do with a drone, even with your license. So it's kind of a silly thing.
They're anticipating people like me going and getting drones.
Right.
That's what you're paying the price for, people like me.
Pretty much. And I think they want to make you aware how hard it is to be a pilot. So it's like, just so you know, this is all this, this is minimal what pilots have to know. So you got to know a little bit of it. That's kind of how it goes. But so we do a lot of drone work. And like I said, if you know what you want, it's easier for us, and we can just come facilitate it and make it better than you think it should have been. And if you have no idea, that's where we lean on just, the creative process. We'll sit and chat and say, what's your end goal? Are you trying to just grow viewership? Are you trying to sell tickets to an event? Or, what is it that you're really trying to do? And we just collaborate and, whiteboard it out and figure out what it is that would make the best project. And whether it's me and my drone, or it's me and 30 of my best friends with all the, $100,000 cameras and all that stuff, and somewhere in between, and normally it lands somewhere lower than that. But it's just a fun process. Like I said, we love telling stories, and I just, if I hear your story, I want to tell it to the world. So let's find the best way to do it.
So one of the elements of your work, the way that you approach it, that I find particularly attractive, it's almost, for me, the technical competence is table stakes, and you and your team clearly have that. But because you have to live it for yourself, I feel like you have some marketing chops too, some strategic marketing, so that you can help me think through the messaging, and is this really, what do you really want to be in a hot tub, with a picture of a Learjet behind you, or is that maybe not really going to get you what you want stuff?
Yeah, and it's funny you say that, because I actually...
What's the demographic here?
Right, exactly.
I actually do have a marketing degree from University of Tulsa in Oklahoma.
Okay, I did not know that, but I'm not surprised now that you mentioned it.
Yeah, my mom's going to be mad I didn't mention that first, but...
we got to it, Mom.
Yeah,
we came around to it.
Obviously 20 years ago, marketing is it's
different.
Totally different world. But there's a lot of the concepts still apply. And that is one thing that has set us apart is, there's a lot of people that can make a pretty video. But if that pretty video doesn't make your cash register ring, I don't care how pretty it is. I'd rather have a video that tells your story and get your phone to ring and looks 80% as pretty as the next guy who says, oh, that's cool. And then they go and they watch it on Facebook and they go along their way, but they say, oh my God, I need that product. That's the video we want to make. And again, it's all about helping businesses grow and make more money.
And adding the value.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So what are you enjoying? Well, you're a year in this particular
almost a year,
evolution of your practice. What are you enjoying the most, and what do you feel like you need more of, and will be putting more attention toward for the next 12, 18 months?
Yeah, so what I'm enjoying the most is honestly just meeting all the people around this community. I mean, it's just been a whirlwind. I know probably 100 more people than I did 6 months ago, and I love it. And we're walking around downtown Woodstock, and it's like, I had a meeting yesterday at Copper Coin, which everybody does. I think Brianna was there.
Yeah, I saw you.
I saw.
I'm there Wednesday.
Hey guys.
Yeah, I had two. I had a meeting at 9 and a meeting at 10. So those were two people. Yep. And while I was there in that 2 hours, I said hi and shook hands with I think 12 people.
Yep.
And everybody knows everybody.
Right.
It's just been so fun getting to know everybody. And we're actually looking at a space in Woodstock. And
wow.
Cool.
so
that's exciting.
you saw us on the 1 Million Cups. That was a really cool thing that Cherokee puts on. And we put a few questions out there about, one of the questions was, do you guys think we need a brick and mortar space? And most people said no. And I kind of agree to a point. But one thing we want to do, the other thing we were trying to do is work with local universities and tech schools to get some internships to do editing, and because that's becoming a big thing these days. And so obviously working out of our house is a little bit tricky to say, hey, college kids, come to my house and hang out for a while. That's just something weird about that. Yes. So I feel like a space would be, we'd kind of started having that conversation. And as we were headed to a meeting about that with somebody else, my partner actually drove by a spot that said for lease. It just came up, and it was like, it's literally the best location we could have even dreamed up. So we're like, I don't want to wait and say, oh man, I should have done that. I wish I would have done that. It's like, Woodstock is happening now.
Yes.
So we got a meeting actually this afternoon about that. So we're hoping to make that happen. So that's the thing I'm most excited about, is really planting our seed in downtown Woodstock and being able to just, help everybody we can help. And it's a cool facility. We've got a cool bus. We got a little mobile studio we drive around, and it'll give us a place to park it and get our wives off our case for one thing. And we're going to talk about golf carts later, because being down here, it's like, and we want to cool.
Yeah, you got to have got to trick it out with the logos and everything. Right?
The MesmerEyes golf cart is going to be.
You don't want to do a moped?
I might do a moped.
I mean,
if it's cheaper than
you want people to remember you. That's how you do it.
We'll have a whole fleet. We'll have the bus and the golf cart.
There
and the
you
moped.
go. I like it.
Depending on what you pay for your video, you get better transportation. So, but now that's what we're excited about right now, is just planting that seed and just continuing to grow. We've got 5 or 6 pretty big proposals out there that everyone's really excited about, and it could keep us busy for 2 years without even trying anymore, which is great because we're going to keep trying. So we're excited about all that.
And with friends like Brianna and the environment that we have here in Cherokee, just so pro-business I guess is the way that I would characterize it. Got a lot of neat things on the horizon. All right, before we wrap, let's make sure that our listeners know how to get in touch with you, talk with you, someone on your team, whatever points of contact or you feel like are appropriate.
Yeah, so you can find us everywhere on the web and social at MesmerEyes Media. Now, that is spelled wrong. It looks really cool with our logo, but sometimes just saying it can't. It's MesmerEyes, like your eyeball, so it's MESMEREYES media.com. Is our website, and then Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all that at MesmerEyes Media. And we had a whole session of win names. We had 5 or 6 names in mind that started. We were hell bent on 2 of them, and they both started sounding like eye clinics after a minute. And it's like, all right, let's go back to the drawing board. And we kept mesmerized, because we want to mesmerize our clients, and the eyes are the window to the soul.
Yes,
there's our cheesy line there. So MesmerEyes Media.
Fantastic. Well, keep up the good work. Congratulations on the momentum. And yes, please come back. Keep us caught up from time to time. Let us know what's happening in your world, man.
We'll race our golf carts from your studio to my studio.
Hey, we'll make a big thing. We'll do a live broadcast, and we'll video the whole event, and we'll have fun.
I love it.
I love it. All right, until next time, this is Stone Payton for our guest today, Jared Adams and Brianna Johnson, and everyone here at the Business RadioX studio, saying we'll see you next time.